In this video, we're going to talk about the assassination that made John Gotti boss. It's December 16th, 1985. You're sitting in a parked car on 46th Street in Midtown Manhattan. It's cold. The city is moving around you. Cabs, pedestrians, Christmas lights. Nobody knows your name. Nobody knows you're here. 40 feet ahead, 4 men in black Russian fur hats and white trench coats are standing outside Sparks Steakhouse. They're waiting. You told them to wait. A black Lincoln Town car rounds the corner. You recognize it immediately. In that car is Paul Castellano, the most powerful mob boss in America, boss of the largest crime family in the country, the man who controls over $500 million a year in criminal revenue, the man who, 2 weeks from now, was planning to have you killed. You watch the car slow down. The door opens, and everything changes. You didn't grow up thinking you'd be here. You grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, one of 13 kids crammed into a cramped apartment, a father who came home drunk and threw punches. Poverty wasn't a concept. It was the walls. By your teens, you're running with a Gambino crew out of Ozone Park. Car thefts, hijackings, street muscle. You're not the smartest guy in the room. You're the one who doesn't flinch. That counts for something in this world. In 1973, Carlo Gambino, the godfather of the most powerful crime family in America, comes to you personally. His nephew was kidnapped and murdered by an Irish gangster named James McBratney. He wants revenge, and he wants you to do it. You walk into a Staten Island bar, identify McBratney at the counter, and shoot him dead in front of witnesses. You do 2 years. When you get out, Gambino promotes you straight to captain. You now run your own crew out of the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club in Queens. You're a made man. You've made your bones, and you want more. Now let's talk about what you just walked into. Because the Gambino family isn't just a crime organization, it's a corporation. By the mid-1970s, conservative estimates put Gambino family revenue at $400 to $500 million a year. To put that in perspective, that's more than most Fortune 500 companies of the era. Where does it come from? Labor unions, construction, the garment district, the docks, garbage collection. If a truck moves freight in New York City, if a building goes up, if a restaurant opens, the Gambino family gets a cut. They don't own these businesses, they own the people who run them. At the top of this machine sits the boss. When Carlo Gambino dies in 1976, the money and the power passes to whoever controls the throne, and that decision is going to set everything that follows into motion. When Carlo Gambino dies of natural causes in 1976, everyone expects the crown to pass to Neil Della Croce, the underboss, the enforcer, the man who bled for the family. The street guys respect Della Croce. He's real. He's one of them. Instead, Gambino hands it to his brother-in-law, Paul Castellano, Big Paul, the Pope, a businessman who lives in a mansion on Staten Island, hosts Sunday meetings with captains like a corporate board, and considers himself above the street crews. He doesn't hang with the soldiers. He doesn't get his hands dirty. He keeps his distance, and he keeps more money than anyone thinks is fair. You hate him, not out of jealousy, out of something deeper. You came up the hard way. You earned every inch. And now this man, who's never taken a punch, never sat in a cell, is going to tell you how to run your crew. But you keep your mouth shut, because Della Croce, your mentor, your protector, is still alive. And as long as he's alive, you have a ceiling and a shield. Here's where things start to unravel. Your crew, your guys, start moving heroin. Your number one man, Angelo Ruggiero, is running a major drug operation out of his house in Queens. 50 kilos of heroin in a 6-month window. Millions of dollars. There's just one problem. Castellano has an ironclad rule: no drugs. Any Gambino member caught dealing narcotics gets one sentence: death. No appeal, no second chances. And Castellano means it. In 1981, the FBI wires Ruggiero's phone, then bugs his house. In 1983, they arrest him and your brother Eugene on heroin charges. And now, Castellano knows. He demands to hear the FBI tapes. He wants proof of what your people were doing behind his back. This is the moment everything becomes a countdown. Because if Castellano hears those tapes, if he confirms your crew was dealing, you're a dead man. Della Croce buys you time, stalls, refuses to hand over the tapes, but Della Croce is dying of cancer, and when he goes, the stalling ends. Why were your guys dealing drugs in the first place? Follow the money. Castellano had been systematically cutting street crews like yours out of the most profitable deals. The construction rackets, the union kickbacks, the big corporate extortion, that money flowed up to Castellano and his inner circle. Your crew was scraping by on hijackings and loan shark collections. Heroin was fast money, enormous money. Ruggiero wasn't reckless, he was desperate. When a boss starves his soldiers, the soldiers find another way to eat. That's not just a mob story, that's economics. And the tension it creates is exactly the kind that ends with someone in a body bag. December 2nd, 1985. Neil Della Croce dies of cancer in his home. The shield is gone. Within days, Castellano calls a meeting. He names a new underboss, Tommy Bilotti, his personal driver, a man loyal only to him. And then he says it. Your crew is being disbanded. Your men absorbed into other families. Your operation wiped out. You know what comes next. Once your crew is gone, you're exposed. Castellano will have you killed quietly, cleanly, without a scene. You've seen it happen to other men. You are not going to let it happen to you. Killing a boss is the ultimate violation of Mafia law. You need cover, so you go to 3 of the 4 other New York families. Quietly, carefully. You make the case that Castellano is weak, distracted by his legal problems, taking money from his own men. You ask one question. If something happens to Paul, will you stay out of it? They say yes. Now you need a partner with enough muscle and credibility inside the Gambino family to make this work. You send Ruggiero to approach Sammy Gravano, the bull, Castellano's most feared enforcer, one of the most powerful captains in the family. Gravano knows the math. Castellano's weak, Gotti is ascendant. The smart play is obvious. He says yes. You now have a team. You call yourselves the Fist of Five, and you pick a date, December 16th, 1985. The plan is meticulous. 4 shooters dressed identically. Black Russian fur hats, light-colored trench coats. If witnesses see them, they'll remember the costume, not the face. Angelo Ruggiero and 3 backups will block every escape route. You and Gravano will watch from a parked car down the block. Close enough to confirm, far enough to survive. Castellano is having dinner at Sparks Steakhouse. One of your 5, a Gambino captain loyal to you, was invited to that dinner. You know the exact time. You know the car. You know the entrance. 6:15 p.m. You're in position. Gravano is beside you. Castellano is late. For a moment, you wonder if he's been tipped off. Then Gravano grabs your arm. The black Lincoln is turning the corner. The car pulls to the curb. The door opens. Castellano steps out. Bilotti walks around to join him. The shooters move. 6 bullets into Castellano, 6 into Bilotti. Both men dead before they hit the pavement. The shooters walk calmly away into the Manhattan crowd. You ease the car forward and drive slowly past the bodies. You have to see it yourself. You have to be sure. He's dead. Here's what just transferred hands the moment Castellano's body hit the street. Control of the most profitable criminal organization in American history. $400 to $500 million a year in revenue. Dozens of labor unions, construction contracts across New York City, the docks, the garment center, the garbage industry, hundreds of soldiers, 50 captains, politicians on the payroll, police on the payroll, judges on the payroll. In one night, on one block, in front of a Manhattan steakhouse, you just executed one of the largest hostile takeovers in American business history. No shareholders, no board vote, no SEC filing, just 6 bullets and the nerve to pull it off. 2 weeks later, every high-ranking Gambino captain files into the Bergine Hunt and Fish Club. One of your supporters stands up and nominates you as the new boss. No one objects. You are now the boss of the most powerful crime family in America. And then you do something no mob boss has ever done. You step into the spotlight, Brioni suits, custom-tailored overcoats, monogrammed socks, front-page tabloid photos. Andy Warhol paints your portrait. You throw massive 4th of July parties in Howard Beach with fireworks. The press calls you the Dapper Don. You love it. You walk into federal court 3 times over the next 4 years, racketeering, assault, conspiracy, and walk out acquitted every time. They call you the Teflon Don. Charges don't stick. What nobody knows yet is that you've been bribing jurors. One of them took $60,000. The math worked, but the FBI doesn't stop. They rent apartments across from your clubs. They bug hallways. They bug a widow's apartment 2 floors above your favorite meeting room. And in December 1989, while you're talking openly, because you're deaf in one ear and you can't whisper, they capture you confessing to 2 murders on tape. And then Gravano hears you on that same tape. An hour of you calling him greedy, blaming him for killings, setting him up as the fall guy. The man who stood beside you in that car on 46th Street decides he's done protecting you. He flips, he testifies, he tells them everything, including exactly what the two of you watched happen outside Sparks Steakhouse. On April 2nd, 1992, you are convicted of 5 murders, racketeering, jury tampering, bribery, and tax evasion. Life in prison. No parole. You spend your last years in solitary confinement, 23 hours a day, alone, stripped of the suits, the cameras, the crowds. The man who needed an audience dies without one. June 10th, 2002. John Gotti is gone. The assassination that made John Gotti boss didn't just change who ran the Gambino family, it changed the face of organized crime in America. For 7 years, a street thug from East New York held the throne of the most powerful criminal empire in the country. Not because he was the smartest man in the room, but because he was willing to do what no one else would. He killed the king. The question is, was it worth it? Drop in the comments. Who should we follow the money on next?